Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. JJ and Alex. It's a Monday. Oh, my goodness. Don't you freaking love sports, JJ?
We had to move some drunk ASU co-eds away from the door to get into the studio.
Still getting trash talked to us. They're
Still
showing up
not
everywhere.
home. They're still there.
Yeah. They stormed
They're
everywhere.
like zombies.
Oh, my goodness. I don't even know what to think about this football season. And I don't even know who to – look, can you blame somebody for all the chaos that's happening that's like off the field, non-actual, like between the lines football stuff? Between Mark Harlan's I want to say something, give me the microphone, and trying to get ASU fans, wait, can I watch the game from right here, the 50-yard line? Can I just watch it right here? Because I kind of just fell down right here. Can I just, oops, I threw up a little bit on your shoes. I want to kiss you.
Hey, why is this tan on the sideline? It's cool in here. I'm going to hang out in here.
Oh, my goodness. The tent guy, best story of the weekend. That guy had the best weekend on the planet. The guy who hung out in BYU's medical tent and no one knew he was there during the last play.
What are you doing, Arizona State?
That is the best story. What do you mean what they're doing? They're doing it all right.
Oh,
here's why they're doing it all right. You could do
just another day in Tempe, huh?
Look, if Arizona State won that game and they were 2-8 and they went to 3-8, do they storm the field with the 19 people who are going to be at the stadium? No. This is what we call a watermark for Arizona State. How do you know you're good? Well, our fans stormed the field before the game was over, and we had some drunk people in the opposing team's medical tent. That's how we know we're doing pretty good this year. Oh, that's good. Good for you. This has now officially become a rivalry game. It will now
that
forever
I agree
be.
with.
This will now forever be a rivalry game between BYU and Arizona State. You know why? Because the players believe it. Not just because the fans are pissy and because back and forth. I've got so many dang things I want to say about this. I mean, we're going to be able to talk about all of it, JJ. But I loved every second of the field storming of the – I know it was chaos. And I know that there was some righteous indignation like, oh, there was a guy standing near where our team area was. I'm telling you, nobody got hurt except for a handful of guys that got hurt. Nobody got hurt except for those people who got hurt when they jumped down and broke their ankles on the field. Oh yeah, if you got thrown down on the field, that's an extra bonus. That's an extra bonus. My goodness, it's crazy. You got to put the goalpost back up. I thought it was good. It was a good service project that they had to put the goalpost back up. Yeah, but Chase Roberts short of the end zone. Pretty awesome catch, though. They hit the ball out at the end. Should have been a completion. Kalani talked about all of it. We're going to break down that sound, JJ. We're going to break down Utah's loss to Iowa State in what just continues to be one of the worst runs of luck that you've ever seen by any team at any level in any sport that we've ever covered from an injury perspective. So, how was your weekend?
It was great. I was in, honestly, a little bit of a recovery after last week.
Oh, my.
It's been a long football season. Let me just say that.
Well, look.
We don't need to get into the details, but it's just been a long football season. But it was nice to just lay around and watch a lot of football. And while Utah's game, I thought Utah really fought hard. We'll get into it, but in the BYU game that was insane. And I do agree with you, and we will get into that later. Is I feel like that felt like a BYU Utah game. That is going to be a rivalry.
I hope so.
It has all the feels of a rivalry. We'll get into that.
If Utah and Arizona State and Arizona and BYU and Colorado want to go that route of being good games the rest of you will be the most important time zone in this conference. Absolutely. and you should be. It's amazing. Anyway, so all the people who want to naysay out there or get grumpy about the ASU fans, blah, 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 it's good for football. It's good for sports. All right? I love it. Nobody got hurt. I mean, a little bit, but not a lot. Come on. No one punched a BYU player. And Kalani was awesome. He said, I don't want to get mad at the fans. They were there to have a good time. Goes the high road.
Oh, they had a good time. It's not hard to find a good time in Tempe.
See you later, virgins. When that girl yelled that from the stands at the BYU fans or the BYU players going into the tunnel, my weekend was made, man. That was the best.
Is that why Tyler Batty was so mad at halftime?
Oh, boy. Hey, say what you want about Tyler Batty's speech at the half.
Loved it.
Guess what it did? Gave BYU their best half of football they've played in probably 4 weeks. Right?
Now, the offense finally woke up.
That's what I'm saying.
I tweeted at halftime, and we've talked about this. It got up to a total of 2 touchdowns and 29 drives.
Yes. Bad.
Come on, man.
Bad.
Like, that offense was stinking.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a slump. That was just, what is going on? And then there was an awakening in the second half. It's like, hey, welcome back. Of course, it ran out of magic on the last drive.
Yeah.
We'll get into that as well.
The too little, too late situation. All right. We'll jump into the program here. We've got a lot to break down. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars, as always. Massive protein bar, awesome flavors, totally fresh, and better than the protein bar that you probably ate this morning if it wasn't a G2G bar. All right? So give it a shot. It's at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other grocers in the refrigerated section. Let's get into the program right here. Let's get into Utah and Iowa State right here. It is The Cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And The Cut at the top of the show, always brought to you by Trajan Wealth. For all your local trusted financial needs, it is Trajan Wealth. TRAJAN Wealth.com, TrajanWealth.com. All right. JJ, Utah falls against Iowa State. The Ferrari comes in. Batari starts to feel himself, a little bit of magic going on with that mullet flowing through the air on a nice 40-yard scamper. We looked it up. He was the leading rusher for the Utes, 47 yards on the night on 4 carries. One of those came on a 40-yard run there at the end, or on that second to last drive. Speaking of the magic running out, I thought it was a little bit of a crap call on the intentional grounding, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, because all it was a guy who didn't remember what the route tree was.
Big 12 ref strike again. The holding call on the kick, too.
It was so weird. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm going, that guy threw the ball, and it was definitely out of bounds. But you know what he did? He thought that the route was going to go out rather than in. There wasn't that much pressure in his face anyway. They were coming out the middle. He just threw it, and he thought at the very least his guy was going to be kind of in that area. And that killed it, because then you're asking Cole Becker to kick a 54-yard field goal, and Cole Becker hasn't been super consistent all season. He had the leg for it, but just a little bit right. And I was bummed for the Utes, because for as much as people were like, I definitely had one of my close Utah friends go, we were saying don't make it. And I was like, I don't know if I believe that. We're in the stands saying don't make it. Don't help out BYU. And I was like, there's no way you went to the game to cheer against Utah. There's no freaking way. There's no way. You're not that type of a fan base. You can say it afterward. You can revise the history afterward. But I have multiple people tell me, people in our section were saying, miss it. Oh, good. I'm glad he missed.
They weren't helping Utah by losing anyway. BYU did that to themselves.
That's 100%
they hurt themselves.
100% right. Now, Iowa State, if they would have lost one of their last 2 games, which they still have a chance to do next week, that obviously helps BYU out. But in my mind, when this game took an absolute terrible turn with the Isaac Wilson injury that ends up being, and I don't know what the nature of it is, except for it's a knee, looks like a left knee, right? You know what they said?
Yeah, he's not going to play this week. Kyle said he'll be back for spring football.
So not going to play this week, which means out for the rest of the season.
It means time to pull the Ferrari out of the garage.
You love Luke Batari. By the way, again,
he was great.
I hate.
You know what? I hate to say this, Alex. I'm having this thought while I'm watching Luke Batari play. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now, because we have to have this conversation. Watching Luke Batari play at the end of the game, watching Brandon Rose play like he did against BYU, Is it fair to ask how in the world Isaac Wilson was QB2?
Like, do you think that they prematurely put him on there?
Luke, in what reps they got, I know it's not as big of as much as Isaac got. And look, none of them have the arm of Isaac Wilson. But Batari and Brandon Rose were better and more efficient in the reps they got than Isaac was as a backup quarterback this year. Okay.
So Lloyd says Christian Cox talked about it.
So Christian, I love Christian, and Christian is right on this. I'm just being honest. If I'm evaluating stuff and you take away the names, you just put the stats and the film on there. Those two guys have played better this year than Isaac Wilson did. Why was Isaac QB2? Why didn't they go to one of these guys earlier in the season?
I don't believe it. I don't believe that there's a conspiracy there that they were like.
I don't think it's conspiracy at all. Good. I think they just chose Isaac as QB2, and that's how it was.
I think the reason they chose
him, it out.
Maybe he is a little bit of a spring and fall football warrior, like a fall camp guy. You know what I mean? Maybe it was a Charlie Brewer situation. You're like, no, he looked like he won the job. I'm not saying that he's Charlie Brewer in the sense that he isn't going to pan out at all. What I'm saying is, why would they have wanted to put Isaac Wilson in there prematurely if he wasn't ready? If they're like, he's actually not as good as he's kind of only good enough to be QB4, but let's put him in at QB2 and just have a laugh. Like, there's no way.
Know, but I'm just saying, like, we've had the whole season, the benefit of being able to watch it. And I'm sitting there watching. It's like, why didn't they go to some of these guys earlier for that spark? Like in Arizona, when things were ineffective, I know you would have been pulling the plug early on a young kid, but it would have been better for Isaac long term, in my opinion, because the longer he played this year, the more his confidence started to take a hit. Like, it got to the point where he was struggling to throw to a running back in the flat.
Okay, but
and I still believe in Isaac. I think he's great. I think there's a lot of talent there, but you can throw a kid out there too soon. You can throw a true freshman out there too soon. And look, I know the design when the season started was for him to not play at all. We all know what the plan was going into the season. This was supposed to be Cam Rising's swan song.
100%. I'm sure
this was supposed to be Cam Rising leading Utah to the college football playoff and winning the Big 12 championship. And we all feel foolish now believing that was going to be the case, looking back. But then I'm sitting there evaluating the quarterback situation even further. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm Brandon Rose and the limited reps he got was better in game than Isaac. Luke Batari, as soon as he came into the game against Iowa State, instant spark. Started making plays happen. He was able to run.
Okay.
He put pressure on that defense you hadn't seen all game. Because if they don't get that pick six in that block punt,
oh yeah, not even close.
Then this isn't even a game.
Which, by the way, I don't like. Some people are like, yeah, but they got lucky with the pick six and then a block punt touchdown.
That's not luck.
They didn't get lucky. That's what those two units do typically for Kyle Whittingham's. Now the special teams this year has not been nearly the juggernaut, the killer that it always is that third phase of the game, because Utah's almost always able to beat everybody on the defensive side of the ball and on special teams, and that's where the edge kind of comes, right? Even if the offense is struggling. I'm not going to give Luke Batari all the credit in the world on this. Now, I'm not trying to short him. What I'm saying is that the run that he had was not a design quarterback run, right? That was everybody's covered. I'm not throwing the ball. This team has never watched 1 second of Luke Batari film. And they got what happens, I think, a lot of times when a new quarterback comes in, you're caught a little bit flat-footed because you're like, I don't know what this guy does. Like, what's his skill set? Right? So Luke Batari benefits from the idea that Iowa State gets a guy in there, and he made a couple nice runs out of busted plays, checked down every play, every good throw that he had was a check down. Okay? Everything that he threw was a check down, throw to the back, a guy that kind of bled out from the line there, a little tight end out in the on a short route. And to his credit, he completed those passes great. But nothing that he did there was like, I came in, I took over this offense that I know so well, and I was able to make these crazy throws. He checked down every throw that he made, and then he made a couple runs that the defense wasn't really expecting. Okay, what does this guy do? And I think there was a benefit from that. So I don't think that Luke Batari came in and blew the world up and was better than Isaac Wilson is as a player. I still don't think that.
No, but he performed better than Isaac Wilson
He did in that moment.
He moved
Absolutely.
the offense down the field.
Yeah.
They scored 15 points after the injury. They didn't have an offensive touchdown with Isaac Wilson in the game. Again. So, and again, I believe in Isaac Wilson. He's going to be fine. But this season, it was too early. And there was other guys in the program that should have been QB2, in my opinion.
Okay.
Based on what we've seen.
We were sharing it. We had the text thread going between all of us during the game. And when it was 28-24, I was like, now this defense takes over. Now if the defense takes over, that's it. This is what Kyle Whittingham begs for. Just give me a lead with the last couple minutes. And that defense, to Rocco Beck's credit, and by the way, Iowa State is not playing great football right now, okay?
No, that's another thing. It's not a great football team.
They're doing a lot of, and BYU fans, take this how you will. It's exactly how it's supposed to sound. BYU and Iowa State are not Arizona State right now, or Kansas, where they are. Those teams are rocketing up through the chart, right? BYU and Iowa State are plateaued and not playing great football currently. Their records are both 9-2. They're both 6-2 in conference, but they have both lost more out of the last 5 weeks. They've lost 4 games out of the last 5 weeks between those two.
Right.
And so you have a couple teams that are trying to figure themselves out. And Iowa State, this is the good news for BYU fans. If they beat Houston this week, which again, all the scenarios that can happen, all the scenarios that are going to be out there, you're relying on other people losing, which is never where you want to be, but you also have to win yourself. And in Utah's case, they go down to Orlando this week, and what on earth does this team have to do the rest of the season? Like, I've never seen a Kyle Whittingham team not just go on a long losing streak like this, because that's never happened historically for him or this program if they lose the 8th in a row.
It's never happened in Utah football history that they've lost 8 games in a row in season.
In one single season. Yeah. So,
they've had a 9-game losing streak back in the 70s. They had an 8-game losing streak that
those
crossed
are between 2 seasons.
Multiple seasons.
Yeah.
They have never had 8 straight losses in season, and they're staring at one on Friday. It's crazy. It shouldn't happen. This program's too good. But it did, and it is. And, they're going to have to get it fixed. This program has been too good and was built into something that should never have had to gone through this, no matter how many injuries. They had the same amount of injuries last year. They went 8-4 in regular season. 8-5 after whatever that bowl game was. That was a debacle. They were 8-4 last year despite all the injuries in a very, very good, historically good Pac-12.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And without a starting quarterback.
And now they're staring at 4-8 this year.
After starting 4-0.
Right.
That's the wild part about it. Right? Because Cole Becker missing
their only win is to the only team that hasn't won in conference play.
Cole Becker missing a 54-yard field goal after a questionable intentional grounding call. Fine. But your special teams gave you a touchdown. Lander Barton gives you a touchdown. And I know everybody loves talking about that 21 years in a row streak. Do you think Morgan Scalley's like, yeah, but we still have our streak? It's like, on a year like this?
No, but it meant something to the fans. There's a lot of pride in that.
I hope so, but like at the same time,
it's about their identity. That's who Utah is. That's what Utah does, and it would have been fitting that the streak ended this year because this year has been weird, and this year has been a disappointment, and that would explain partly why things turned out the way they did. Is because they weren't making those kind of plays this year.
Did this weekend, the result plus the post-game press conference plus today's press conference with Kyle Whittingham, which we're going to hear later in the program, some bites from that. Did that have you change your mind at all about what Kyle Whittingham's choice might be? Not that his may have changed, but maybe your attitude of what he wants to do going forward.
No, it hasn't.
He won't end like this, is what you're saying. He can't go out like this.
We'll play what he said today. I still believe there's no way he goes out like this. No way. And
I think that Morgan Scalley, I mean, for as much as he's going to be ready to take this program over, you don't want to do it under these circumstances, right?
That's a lot of pressure on him.
And I don't think Kyle wants to hand the reins over to him when things are like this either.
It's not time yet.
All right.
They got to fix this.
We got a ton to talk about still here. We've got a ton of things to break down on a Monday, of course, because on Mondays during football season, we actually usually run out of time. We just don't have enough time in the day to be able to break all of it down, but we're going to try to get to everything all at once, all today. We'll come back. We've got more to chat about next. We will break down this BYU loss to Arizona State. How 21-0 was just too much to overcome for the Cougs. We'll chat about it next right here, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. See you later, virgins. Oh, my gosh. When that ASU student yelled out at the BYU players running off the field, I couldn't be mad because I'm here for the comedy, all right?
What a circus, man.
Oh, my gosh.
I thought more about what you're saying. It's college football. This is what makes college football crazy. You never see that in an NFL game. I get that.
I love it.
But, come on, Arizona State. What a clown show you are.
Here comes JJ's righteous indignation.
Arizona State.
I want to have more. I want to have a little bit more buttoned up situation. Come on.
Hey, PK, how can you keep defending this institution? PK.
Because Walter.
Come on.
Walter Concrete.
Oh, get out of here. Yeah, back in 1930-something. A lot has changed since Walter Cronkite was there.
But by the way, even when they were in the Pac-12, they were still the second best broadcast program in the Pac-12. You still had the Edward R. Murrow School of Journalism up at Wazoo, brother.
Ooh.
And I don't even like Wazoo. I was born to hate Wazoo. But I still recognize that Edward R. Murrow, good night and good luck, is a little bit more recognizable name.
Them's fighting words. You're a Murrow
I'm
guy
just telling
over
you.
Cronkite? Wow. People under the age of 40 have no idea what we're talking about
Boy,
right
we
now.
can connect with those people out there, deep industry analysts out there. They know who we're talking about.
We strayed too far for the topic. The clown show that was Arizona State on Saturday.
Oh, my goodness.
The
I'm telling you.
refs, Kenny Dillingham, out there acting like he was one of the kids. Grow up, man.
I know.
What a clown.
Scadaboo
He ran
signing
onto the
a
field
ball.
during that interception.
Scadaboo signing the ball in the end zone. I can't hate that at all, by the way. I mean, he got the penalty, and you know what? He ended up paying for it. I mean, that kind of gave BYU that 3 points at the end of the half, if you want to look at that like, ooh. But I will tell you, the reality of BYU losing that game happened in the 21-0 run that they had to start the game off, and there were a couple things that stood out to me. As soon as they kept the offense out on the field on that 4th and 5 at Arizona State's 40, or no, yeah, it was on either their side of the field. It was on the 46, right at midfield. As soon as they kept the offense out there, I was like, mistake. It wasn't revisionist history. I was like, it's too early. You punt and pin. You kick the ball. That was one thing that, in my mind, I would agree with Greg Wrubell on, right? They're like, you don't. I love that you want to be aggressive. It's not 4th and 1. If it were 4th and 1 or a 4th and a half a yard, because at that point you were only getting 1 yard a rush, right? They could not move the daggum football. The line of scrimmage battle was decidedly won by ASU in the
That's
first
what shocked me the most, Alex.
It was almost 3 quarters. It was only until the last part of the third quarter that BYU started to turn things around at the line of scrimmage. And that you noticed that the pressures weren't as much, that BYU was able to run the football more, that BYU on the defensive side started to figure things out. It was on both sides of the ball they were getting their butts kicked at the line of scrimmage. So there was one thing, okay? The defense lost a battle against another team in the first half like I had never seen this defense lose a battle this year. Because you knew the offense was having struggles. So you couldn't afford to be struggling on defense. It's a tough a bit of pressure to put on Jay Hill and his guys, but guess what? That was the scenario that they found themselves in. The defense has nothing to think about except for, we don't think we're going to get more than 18 or 20 points from this offense. That's what you had to think about going into this game. So at the half, 21-3, and at the beginning of the game, 21-0, giving ASU that short field after they had already marched down very quickly and scored, I thought was a massive mistake. Now, I get you want to be aggressive. Cam Scadaboo was beyond as advertised. He was better than advertised. He was exceptional. He was actually healthy this week. You cannot arm tackle that guy. You can't even match up straight up with him. You got to go low. The tackling was abysmal in the first half. So BYU's defense couldn't afford to be bad, and they were bad in that first quarter and a half. And the special teams also lost the battle, which is also something we haven't said about K-pop this year. They did not have a good showing. And the onside kick, a little bit of a lucky bounce off the leg of Talon Alfrey, but guess what? You've had the lucky bounces go for you other weeks of the year. And I know that Kalani, we had that clip of him saying that they planned for it. BYU losing in the first half on their defensive side of the football, on special teams, and on offense was too much to ask to come back from, and yet they still almost came back. It's a good football team, and I wondered what it was going to be like, because one loss in an undefeated season can easily turn into two. Ask Iowa State. Ask some of these other teams who go undefeated, and then suddenly they find themselves losing, and it's hard to get out of that rut. And they started to pull it out. The best showing by this offense in the last 4 weeks or so was in that second half against ASU. And I'm glad they found some fire there. That last interception was an absolute gut punch, I think, to the confidence of Jake Retzlaff. And it was a killer, because we've talked about bad Jake and good Jake all season long. And bad Jake can not just stall drives, it can end, the desire for a historic season. Now, can they still go to the Big 12 championship game? Absolutely. But they need somebody else's help, which is never the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
Never the way you want to do it. So my thoughts were that coming into the show today was they lost in all three phases in the first half, which you hadn't seen from a BYU team really all season long, losing all three phases to another team in the first half.
Yeah, it's the first time this year. I didn't believe this after the Kansas game. I just thought they blew it in the red zone. I didn't walk away after the Kansas game thinking that Kansas was the better team. I just think BYU did not execute in the red zone and ended up costing them the game. I honestly had to admit at the end of the Arizona State BYU game, and obviously Arizona State was helped by playing at home, but BYU got beat by a better team on Saturday. Now, that doesn't mean if they play again in 2 weeks that can't change. But on Saturday, Arizona State was better than BYU. They proved it on the field. They won all three phases. Even then, BYU still had a chance to come back and win this game. And Jake Retzlaff is going to watch the film of that last drive over and over and over again, because the opportunities were there. The miss on JoJo Phillips, that should have been a touchdown. That's a 9 out of 10. That's a 99 out of 100. You hit that guy, he scores.
Right.
Wide open. Just a simple go route. Nothing complicated about it. Should have put that right in the bucket. And if he does that, you win that game. And then the interception on the ball to Lassiter, you got to make your reads. You can't just predetermine where you're going with that ball. We broke it down on KSL Sports Live last night. Stevens and Sylvester went through the progressions he should have made on that based on the reads on the defense, and Parker Kingston would have been open over the middle. He was open over the middle. You hit Parker Kingston over the middle, he might go for 10, at least maybe even 20-plus yards on that throw. Instead, you tried to force it into Lassiter, just like you kind of did in the past, right? And I get it. Darius Lassiter is your guy, and he has been the guy all year, and he made magic happen against Oklahoma State, and they went back to the well. Instead of going with your reads and taking what the defense gave you, you tried to force something, and it turned into a disaster. Even then, they still had a chance with 1 second left. And, Alex, that's when things got crazy, and I just don't think the referees could have handled it worse. I don't think Arizona State could have handled it worse. I get it. It's all part of the game. It's all part of college football. Kalani had a great spirit about it. But if I'm BYU, I'm ticked off because there should have been an intentional grounding penalty on Sam Levitt because he was still in the tackle box when he threw that ball out of bounds. That was not intended for anybody. That alone would have given you another chance to get out on the field with the turnover on downs.
That would have happened. I thought they called the intentional grounding.
No.
I thought that the intentional grounding was called, but what was not called was the fans rushing the field, which, by the way,
that's a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct
like
penalty.
It's an automatic. But
we've seen that before.
What's interesting is I think after the game, and I don't want to go full foil hat, but throw it on, Cougar fans, just in case you want to make yourself feel a little bit better. Kalani after the game, I think, said that was a Big 12 decision. That the league said, nope, we're not we're not going to assess a 15 here.
That's wrong. There was a 15-minute delay. You could at the very least, assess a delayed game penalty. Like, there should have been some kind of penalty for the circus that played out. And if any of those penalties are called, you give Jake a closer shot. He was just too far away. Couldn't get it to the end zone. And Roberts caught the ball.
He did catch the ball. And
he would have caught it in the end zone. So they would have had a chance. It would have been a spectacular ending. Who knows how it would have played out. But the penalty should have been assessed, in my opinion. I'm looking at the score sheet right now, Alex. No penalty was called on 4th and goal. There was no intentional grounding penalty. The clock struck 1 when the ball hit the crowd, and that's why I gave him 1 second. That you can't just throw the ball up in the air like that. What happened to Luke Batari in the Utah game?
I think their argument was, he threw the ball to
same thing.
Yeah. But
and that whole stupid
Levitt.
Yeah.
Levitt, when he threw that ball, it was kind of weird because it came out of his hand, right? A little bit.
Oh, sure. He just threw it.
Right. But I think that's where they're like, oh, the ball slipped out of his hand. So they could kind of hide behind this idea that it slipped out of his hand, and so that's why it didn't get down the field to the route that was being run.
You can't throw a ball. It doesn't matter if it slips your hand or not. You can't throw a ball to a guy on the 25th row when you're in the tackle box.
Right.
You can't do it.
So in the end, though,
it's intentional grounding.
I get it. And
the
officiating,
I would have loved to have seen that whole strategy that Dillingham played out on the last possession absolutely blow up in his face, because that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
That all being thrown into it makes it a fun part of why the game ended up the way it was. However, BYU was outmatched in that first half at the very least. Like, Arizona State came out with the juice that BYU has lacked the last 3 weeks.
It's true.
And
you can't fall behind 21-0 against a good team like that and expect to win a game.
And the reality was that juice didn't even come back like right at the beginning of the second half either. It wasn't like the Tyler Batty, fired up F-bomb storm at halftime got anybody going right out of the gate. What it did do was the defense made that stop on 4th down, and that did change things. That changed everything. Because even after ASU goes down and scores a touchdown, after BYU goes down and scores a touchdown, it's 28-9 at that point, and you go, well, you can't even get a stop after that. And yet they were able to get those stops. They were able to keep going down and scoring. They figured something out. A-Rod found some spaces. He found some spots. They made the adjustments. They did what good teams do. And 28-23, look, this exact thing played out the week before against Kansas State. They were up 24-0 on Kansas State. Second half fires up, and Avery Johnson and Kansas State have the ball with 3 minutes left, and it's 24-14, and I think you threw a pick at that point. Like, they start scoring in the second half.
Yeah.
ASU is not a good second half football team. They're a terrible fourth quarter football team. They're in the negative on scoring against their opponents.
They scored 0 points against BYU in the fourth quarter.
And they're in the negative over the entire season. They had their worst quarters the fourth quarter, and BYU pounced. But it was too little too late, because guess what they are? A really good first half football team. BYU could not afford to go into the other person's house and come out flat like they did.
No.
And I think that really the thing that hurt was going for that 4th and 5 when your team was all out of sorts. They needed a reset. And the way to get that reset was to maybe get that defense back on the field and go, all right, reset here. Let's get him at the 7, and let's figure it out from here. Instead of giving it to him at the 50-yard line and letting him go 50 yards easily with Cam Scadaboo, who just walked all over him in that first half. 100 yards rushing in the first half, 96 yards rushing in the first half. Insane.
3 touchdowns. I'll tell you what, though.
He's as advertised.
That felt like a rivalry game.
Oh, I'm so glad.
That felt like a BYU-Utah game. All the stuff you mentioned, the yelling from the stands and everything that happened at the end, all of that smelled like a rivalry. It's something brewing between. I don't know what it is between BYU and Arizona State. I don't know why Arizona State had such hard feelings towards BYU. Did you see the players getting into it before the game?
Oh, in the pregame, yeah.
I mean, there's just
again,
every single thing about this game felt like a rivalry game.
The players believe it. It
almost felt like more rivalry than Utah BYU game this year.
Well, it certainly was.
Now that had its own drama, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, there was some angst out there. There was an edge to that game. It's too bad BYU didn't match that energy in the first half. But moving forward, this BYU-Arizona State game is going to be something to watch, because this is the start of something, especially if they meet in a rematch.
That's what I'm saying.
A week from Saturday in Arlington.
Nobody wants Iowa State.
Is possible.
No, Brett Yormark is going, who do we have to call? Who do we have to call to get this thing done? You've done it before, Brett. You've pulled the strings like puppets on your referees earlier this year. Allegedly. I'll get into that, though, a little bit later. I don't really think that. But I do think that if you're like Brett Yormark, you are absolutely hoping for an ASU BYU
You've got
rematch.
storylines built in already.
Gosh. And then
what's Arizona State, Iowa State? How is anybody getting any juice? Who around the country wants to watch that? Would you want to watch the rematch of whatever the heck happened on Saturday? Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. And you're going to be replaying in the locker room all the Dallin Levitt TikToks out there.
You want us to do what to your what?
What? Excuse me?
You okay, sir?
What did you say to me? There are kids in the room. Yeah, I know. And I asked my kids, I'm like, what do you think about this? I'm just kidding. I didn't let them watch it.
Trust me, they've already seen it today.
Oh, I know. I did. Oh, my goodness. It may or may have not been shared at church by a couple people in the hallways. I was like, this might not be the best place for this. But here goes. Roll the TV out of the library. Roll the TV out of the library. Let's plug in the HDMI.
You're sitting there with you got your headphones in during sacrament meeting, and you're playing Dallin Levitt. Really?
Oh, you brought the TV in? What are we watching? Plug your phone in, and we'll check it out. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. I loved all of it. I'm too much of a sports fan to hate that stuff, man. I love football.
I'll be honest. That's part of the reason why we watch.
I know. All right, we'll take a break. Before we do, tune in every week to First and 12. Every Sunday, Mitch Harper and I break down all of the Big 12 Conference, top to bottom, including a special look at the local teams here. But we break it all down. You could go check it out wherever you find podcasts, or every Sunday, 10 a.m. to noon, right here on the KSL Sports Zone and on KSL News Radio. It's all brought to you by Macy's Happy Shopping. We will take a break. We'll come back. We've got our Weekend Warriors next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. And the Foo Fighters.
Emphasis on the Foo.
Foo Fighters. JJ, first of all, Weekend Warriors, brought to you by the folks at Gillette Heating and Air. Right now, get seasonal savings and seasonal maintenance done on your furnace. How about just $59? If you haven't done it already, go check it out at GilletteHVAC.com. That's GilletteHVAC.com to make an appointment. All right, Weekend Warriors. This guy absolutely dominated last night's Sunday night football game, and I just love when guys have a resurgence in the old career.
Milestone.
He's 6 yards shy of a career high for rushing yards, and he's got it, and he's got more, and he's gonna go all the way. What a night, what a season, what a player.
He's not talking about Daniel Jones. He's talking about Saquon Barkley. What a night, what a career. Nope. Saquon Barkley, a former Giant, now Eagle, 255 yards on the ground last night. 2 touchdowns, what was it, 70 and 75 yards, both in the second half?
Just
something
a
like
monster
that.
game.
He had just on those 2 runs in the second half over 145 yards. Crazy. Nice game by Puka Nakua, not enough though.
Yeah.
And the
How
Rams.
How awkward does it have to be the Giants front office right now? What's left of it?
Yeah.
You let him walk. You didn't think he was worth the money. You signed Daniel Jones instead. Now you have to waive him. What a mess.
And
the Giants stink.
The Giants stink. The Eagles do not. And the Eagles, what do they improve to? 9-2 now? One of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, they're right there with the Lions.
So he had an awesome night. BYU men's and women's cross-country teams both win the national championships over the weekend. And I know you probably didn't even know that. I know you did, JJ. But I'm saying I know other people who are listening might have glossed over that.
That's
because
incredible.
You don't follow. It is a wild thing to see.
It's
that
incredible.
Cross-country teams can.
They
keep
own
doing
cross-country. They own distance running. What a great job that those programs do.
Somebody won a Big 12 championship down in Provo this year.
Womp
What?
womp.
We'll take the break. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Monday to you. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for being a part of the show. Lots going on, of course, here in the state of Utah from every sports aspect. The Jazz get the W over the weekend. Hey, the Utah Hockey Club got a win over the weekend as well. They also took a loss last night, 3-2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but 6-1 in Pittsburgh the evening before, and really just quite a showing offensively for the Utah Hockey Club. Of course, our Utah Hockey Club insider is Cole Bagley for KSLSports.com. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot. Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and Costco, all in the refrigerated section. Let's kick things off talking with Cole Bagley right here. It's The Cut, top of the hour.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And The Cut this hour brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and now Mitsubishi. It is the Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and now Linden, where you can find the new Kia of Doug Smith right there. Joining us on the program, he is Cole Bagley. Long road trip for this Utah Hockey Club. And Cole, I would imagine that there is something historic, too, because I know you grew up a Pens fan. I know you're a Penguins guy. So to watch the Utah Hockey Club to go into Pittsburgh, and then they win 6-1, and you get to see Sid the Kid on the ice against Utah Hockey Club, it must have been a lot of emotions in that building for you, especially.
Oh, it was an honor to be in the building. You know, my 10-year-old self was just crying and screaming and excited all at the same time. You know, while I was in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is actually a pretty unbelievable city. You know, obviously there's the New York, there's Chicago, there's LA, and you know Miami, those big cities. But Pittsburgh is a sneaky good town. That's a big hockey town that just embraces that team. And you know, for the last 2 decades, they've been led by none other than Sidney Crosby, who scored his 600th goal of his career. Only 21 players in the history of the NHL have ever done that. And yeah, it was electric to be there. And it went the way that I had talked with Chris Armstrong, president of the Utah Hockey Club, beforehand. He said, hey, we need a big win tonight. I said, all right, how about Sid gets his 600th goal and the Utah Hockey Club wins 4-1. Of course, they won 6-1. So I think it went a little bit better than we had discussed, but it was amazing.
Yeah, geez, Cole, give him a little bit more credit.
Well, don't worry, because the offense didn't decide to show up the other games on the road.
Well,
trip,
yeah,
so.
they were saving all those goals. They needed some for that Boston game, but overall, I mean, 3 games of this trip, I don't think anybody expected them to win the second out of a back-to-back against Toronto. But what are some of the things that you've observed during this trip? Obviously, the high of Pittsburgh and the low of Boston.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing that's happening right now is they're seeing the puck go in the back of the net. Obviously, started off rough in Boston, you know, more of the same, but things kind of flipped around in Pittsburgh. You know, it was they seized a great opportunity. You know, Pittsburgh is probably one of the worst teams in the NHL right now, and they had just lost the night before to Winnipeg, and so Utah came in and took control. You know, put 6 goals in the back of the net, and then 2 again last night against Toronto. So 8 goals over the last 2 games. That's, you know, almost a third as many as they had scored in the previous 16. So, you know, it's good to see the puck go in the net. I think it's a confidence booster. They scored 4 times on the power play over the last 2 games as well. So those are the things that are going right for the Utah Hockey Club right now. But, you know, what's not going particularly well is, again, more of the same. It's these extreme highs and these extreme lows. You know, poor stretches of hockey that just doom their ability to win games. It was the same story last night against Toronto. I mean, I would say they dominated 40 minutes of the game, potentially 50 minutes of the game, but there was about a 5-10 minute stretch where they let in 3 goals, you know, put themselves in a 2-goal deficit and just couldn't come back from it. So, lot of good things are actually happening right now, but it's still being overshadowed by just an inability to play a full 60 minutes of hockey.
Is this about where you had this team kind of around this time of year? I mean, they're sort of hovering around that 500 mark there, and they've got, I want to say, 19 points on the season so far. And I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people, the expectations went through the roof, obviously, when they started out the way they did. But are they kind of evened out to where people think that a young team like the Utah Hockey Club should be right now?
Yeah, I think if you talk with any of the front office and, the people around the league, Utah is, right about where they should be. Maybe a little bit, maybe a game or two behind, where they really should be. I mean, I think, right at 500 would be on point. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's extreme highs and there's extreme lows, and that has everything to do with the fact that they're a young team. There's going to be nights where you get just an absolute beast of a goal scorer out of Dylan Guenther. And then there's going to be other nights where he kind of goes quiet. It's the same thing with, Logan Cooley, where there's nights where he's going to be handing out assists left and right, and other nights where he just doesn't. So they're young. Logan Cooley's 21 and Dylan Guenther's 20, and, Matthias Michelli's 24, just barely 24. Jack McBain's 23 or 24. Lammers 20. And even the captain himself, he's 26. That's not very old. In this league, especially to be a captain. So they're learning. That's the conversation I've had with just about everybody. Every media availability, I go and talk to somebody, whether it's Keller, it's Guenther, it's Cooley, it's Mata, it's Sergachev. These guys, they're learning. They're young, they're learning. There's been a lot of potential. That's the most exciting thing I think that Utah fans should kind of cling to right now is when this team is at their best, they're very, very good. But the trick is going to be getting that on a consistent basis every single night. Once they figure that out, it's going to be a scary good team.
The Utah Hockey Club is a young team. They're currently sitting with 19 points, and the Avs are right ahead of them at 24 points. Even if the Hockey Club had won the last two games, they still would be trailing by points in that same exact spot. So there's a little bit of a no harm, no foul when it comes to kind of their standing in the division. But obviously, the points matter by the end of the season. Everything that this team's trying to accomplish obviously has to do with that playoff push. Another very young team in this league, and a team who has had, and I think is at the very bottom of their division in the Atlantic, is the Montreal Canadiens. This is a very similar team in terms of youth, people not having a lot of expectations for them. Their front office is trying to be patient with them, and that's a tune that we've heard a lot this year out of this Utah Hockey Club, and yet the Canadiens have only won 7 games to Utah winning 9 this year. So where's Montreal at right now?
Yeah, it's a similar situation. There's a lot of teams that, kind of hit a reset button about the same time. Montreal, Chicago, Anaheim, San Jose, Philly. And so those are the teams that are just, it's the same kind of situation. It's extreme highs, extreme lows. And to be honest, I don't know what to expect out of tomorrow night, just given the fact that these teams are very similar, but like we've seen, both teams have had really, really good wins and really bad losses. So it just kind of depends on who comes out. But for me, this is, I'm going to stand kind of by what I said the other day. Is this is a must-win for the Utah Hockey Club. I know, people are looking at it going, how can this be a must-win? This is only the 21st game of the season. It's late November. There's still so much hockey. Well, there's a thing about the NHL where teams in a playoff spot are very close to a playoff spot near American Thanksgiving. Those are generally the teams that end up playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And, it's this weird thing, but it happens very consistently. And so Utah needs to, pick up 2 more points, come away with this road trip with 4, end up on a high note. Because if you come home with 2 out of 8 possible points, it's going to be tough to continue. November was a gauntlet. If they can get a win, tomorrow night and maybe get 1 out of the next 2 this weekend, especially if they're able to beat Edmonton, which would be fantastic, or Vegas. Again, they finished the month off with just 2 of the best teams in the NHL. They've got to get some steam. They've got to get some consistency going because the schedule lightens up a little bit. So like we talked about, it's kind of no harm, no foul, but they've got to find a way to finish this month with another 4 or 5 points so that going in December and January when it lightens up and they're home for a long period of time, they can start to kind of build up points and get themselves in a spot. Because the best thing for this young team would be some playoff experience. Yeah, it's not the end of the world if they don't make it, but just think about how much better this team would be moving forward if they've had a taste of what the playoffs are like.
I was watching the Toronto game in the second period. You touched on it earlier, but I got really frustrated because they kept getting penalties. And this has been an issue. I don't know where you have to tell me where they rank in the league in penalty minutes. But it just seemed like that second period, one of the reasons why it got away from them was just the lack of discipline with penalties. Is that something that you've talked to or asked the players about or Coach Bear about? Is this normal, or is this team making too many mistakes when it comes to penalties?
They are, to my knowledge, the second most penalized team in the league.
Okay, so I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, they have committed far too many penalties. And again, yeah, it just kind of goes back to youth. I don't want to single anybody out, but there's a couple young guys on this team that are still, I think, acclimating to the league, and they're not familiar with all the situations, with all the talent. It's faster, it's bigger, it's stronger, and so sometimes if you get a little bit lazy, you're kind of on your heels a little bit. You can commit a cross check or a hooking or a tripping penalty, and that's been a big issue. It's been stick penalties. It hasn't necessarily been roughing penalties or anything like that. It's all taken place with their sticks, which kind of indicates that, look, you're not giving full effort on plays. You're getting lazy, and you're pulling somebody back with your stick, or you're tripping them because they beat you. So it's an issue. It's a big issue. It's one that has really frustrated Coach Torney, and they need to figure it out because they have shot themselves in the foot way too many times with so many bad penalties. I mean, that when you take 8 penalty minutes in a period, you're not going to produce anything because, first of all, you're defending in your own zone for almost half the period, and the momentum is completely killed. They did the same thing against Boston. So the penalties need to be fixed, or we're going to continue to see the same results where, hey, Utah might dominate the majority of a game, but if they're having 8 to 10 minute stretches where they can't stay out of the box, you're begging teams to score on you.
Cole Bagley, our Utah Hockey Club insider for KSLSports.com, joining us here as the Utah Hockey Club goes to Montreal in this kind of historic – everything's historic this year, by the way, Cole. I'm just calling it. Everything is historic. You go from, Boston to Pittsburgh to Toronto and now to Montreal. You talk about some of the most historic names in all of hockey. What do you think the biggest lesson that Bear and his guys are learning on a trip like this?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think they're learning that they're capable. That when you look at the 3 games that they've played, obviously they completely dominated Pittsburgh. Against Boston, I would say they were the better team for the majority of the game. And then last night, if you eliminate that second period, it's Utah by a mile. They win 2-0. So I think what they're learning is they're capable. The potential's there, but it's still taking time. This is not a team that's going to be competing for a Stanley Cup in the next couple years. It might be 3, 4, or 5. Crazy things can happen. It could happen sooner than that. But I just think that what they're learning is there's potential, but it's going to take time to develop. Maybe a few more pieces. They've got a lot of prospects in their pool that are very talented and should be coming up over the next year or two, joining the roster and whatnot. So potential, I'd say, would be the theme of this road trip.
Cole Bagley, you can find his byline at KSLSports.com. And, of course, he joins us every Monday to jam about this Utah Hockey Club. Best place to try to understand a little bit more about what we have going on right here on the radio home of the Utah Hockey Club, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Cole, thanks, man. We appreciate it. And safe travels, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
There you go. Cole Bagley. Yeah, you're on the road enough, and you're playing a sport that's a lot of Canadians are playing. You got to call it American Thanksgiving, JJ.
Just to be clear.
Canadian Thanksgiving, I think, is it every October 10th, or is it a Thursday situation for them too? I know that it's around that first or second week of October. So they've already given thanks, eh? They're over it. They're not a boat to honor your American Thanksgiving over there.
No.
I've just never heard Thanksgiving say, yeah, your American Thanksgiving. But they do have their own Canadian Thanksgiving. I will say, too, I've been in other countries, and they have their own Thanksgiving. You know why? Because they saw an opportunity. They went, hey, the Americans take a weird holiday that doesn't make a lot of sense to us, so let's do the same thing.
And we're going to do it a month earlier.
Yeah.
By the way, it's second Monday of every
I will say,
October.
I get a little jealous. Like, it's smart to make it on a Monday or a Friday, right? Wish we would have been a little bit more.
Do they pour maple syrup on their turkey?
I could eat a maple turkey situation.
Sounds good. I'd try it.
Absolutely. You know, we bought real maple syrup, and my kids are like, the hell is
My
this?
kids won't eat real maple syrup either.
What's your deal?
They prefer high fructose corn syrup.
I'm like, hey, do you understand what's going on here? They're like, that something tastes a little burned. It's not burned. It's actual
I won't
maple
eat
syrup.
Aunt Jemima. I won't. I got to have the real maple syrup, the real deal. And you can taste the difference.
I'm telling you.
I love real, authentic maple syrup.
Yeah. No, I'm fine that they don't eat it because I keep the fake one in there because I'm like, you guys don't deserve this one. Just like a lot of things. Kids, you don't deserve the nice things, okay?
Jeez.
You can't have it.
What's wrong with our youth?
I'm worried for Gen Z. They don't like real maple syrup. It's not the Toronto log cabin syrup leaves. Come on, it's maple. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This makes me feel good. Good tune. Hey, welcome back. It's JJ and Alex. Oh, good singing, JJ. That was really good.
I can hit all kinds of octaves.
I know you can, dude. Hey, by the way, our program here, it's JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Every week, we honor a pretty cool award that we kicked off this year called the Hercules Hero of the Week. Thanks with our partnership with Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals on this one. You submit a nomination with a sports volunteer, like a youth sports volunteer in your area that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. You just go to KSLSports.com/contest. And every Thursday, we read off those submissions that we pick to be the winner, and then you get yourself a nice prize as well. We read off the nomination. They get honored over the air, but they also get a gift card from Hercules Credit Union and then $200 to Beehive Meals as well. It's all brought to you by those two great sponsors of Hercules Hero of the Week, Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. So just go to KSLSports.com/contests and nominate that person who does a phenomenal job in your area with the youth sports and give them some recognition that they didn't sign up to get anyway. That's why they're the volunteers that they are. They love the sports. They love the kids, man. All right. I think we have some audio of this, right? So Rick Neuheisel, former UCLA head coach, former University of Washington head coach. I just told Alex before the show, our producer Alex Napoles, I go, you got fired from UW. You remember what for? Running that March Madness pool.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Now, they probably wanted to find a reason to fire Rick Neuheisel.
Right.
But I remember that he had run it was like hey, everybody, we're throwing in $10, a bracket. Gonna have a fun time with this one. It wasn't like an underground, $1,000 a head, point shaving
Of all the
scheme.
things to get fired for, he got fired for doing a March Madness pool.
Think about how weird that sounds now in 2024 also.
Oh, I know, right?
Now that the NCAA is like, our favorite partner, MGM Bets.
Yeah.
Like,
Big Ten football brought to you by DraftKings.
You're going to get all that pretty soon. So, Rick Neuheisel, who, of course, does a lot of commentating as well for different outlets, I think most recently with Fox. And he went on the John Canzano and John Wilner podcast talking about officiating. And it was kind of the jumping off point with the BYU-Utah game, but it's gotten even more relevant over the last couple of weeks. And here's what he said, and he has a suggestion as well, and I wanted to get your take on it here, JJ. Here's what Rick Neuheisel said about the current state of college officiating.
BYU still the undefeated team. You get a call like that, which literally, as I was watching the film, you could not see the official throw the flag. He was on the Utah bench. He wasn't being persuaded by any coach to call the flag. And yet, as Retzloff was being swarmed by what we call a bear Mike pass rush, and he never even got close to setting his feet or having a chance to throw down the field, in that line of sight, the, whether it's field judge or side judge, throws the flag and bails them out with a holding call that you have to really want to call that. You have to really want to. And I'm not calling anybody's integrity in question. What I'm saying is you can't have a Big 12 officiating. Now, this didn't go back to replay. You can't have Big 12 officials doing that because Big 12 officials are trying to protect the Big 12 league. It's creating a conflict. And so too does the situation in the ACC when it goes back to replay. So what we need to go forward here, and we're learning as we go in this ever-changing world of expanded playoffs, we need a one-house, all-united officiating group run by the CFP. There's plenty enough money there to handle it. And all these replays going back to a mission control, much like they do in the NFL.
I like it.
He's 100% right.
1,000% right.
But it's not going to happen until we get – because all these leagues, I mean, is the SEC – who's going to run this?
Well, I think that's the idea is that, hey, now that everybody's putting their big boy pants
as long as there are separate conferences, I mean, I hope somebody could do this, but I'm just not sure who's the oversight on it. What we really need is for there to be a break-off college football pro division.
See, that's what I was saying is that when he's
talking,
I think what he's talking about,
officials, and then there's not this. You can see what he's saying. The integrity is like it was in the Big 12's best interest for BYU to remain undefeated.
So even if it doesn't, even if that's not the case, and I don't think that is the case, that they go make the call. Like, there's no way.
It's not, and that's not what happened. But you can understand how people can question it.
It's an appearance
and
thing.
The look is not good.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is that what he's saying here is that he's like, yeah, and you can have just an overarching kind of CFP run. And I think what he's referring to there is the next step of all this, which is what you're referring to, which is you've got the NFL over here for the pro side of things, and then you have the CFP, the other shield, for the development league for the NFL,
which is essentially what it is,
as its own pro league, and I think that that's the point that they want to get to, and to that end, one, we're already there because who's the governing body of the national championship? Who's the national championship gatekeeper already for FBS football?
The CFP.
It's the CFP. Now, what's weird about it is you have these extremely powerful conferences that are able to wield weird influence. It's not like the think of if the AFC. No, what's the best division in football right now? Do you think it's the NFC North? Nah, I mean, yeah, maybe with the Lions, Vikings.
Yeah, it's the AFC. It's the NFC North. For
NFC
sure.
NFC North. So let's go NFC North, which, by the way, is a historic conference too. It's one of the oldest in all the National Football League. So imagine if they were able to just be the ones who are, well, it's whatever the NFC North wants, I guess. That's the way we talk about the SEC, right? That's the way we talk about the Big Ten in a way also. And then it's everybody else. The NFC North. Oh, they're wielding their power again. You know how the commissioner is of the NFC North. He does whatever he wants. Oh, the NFC North got paid out 80% more than everybody else. That's where we're at right now.
The NFC North is bullying everybody else. The NFC North and the AFC West are keeping all the money to themselves.
You know, all they're going to do is just let a 3-loss NFC North team in.
You've seen all the memes with the Chiefs and how the officials are on their side, right?
But do you see how insane that sounds? Because the NFL has, for as much as you want to bicker about it and whether or not the NFL referees are all doing a good job or not, they're NFL employees, though. They're not Big 12 employees.
They're not employed by the AFC West.
Right. And so, and they treat it like that. I was watching one of the games. It was officiated this week on Thursday Night Football, and I saw the same crew doing a game yesterday, and I thought, and they were in completely different parts of the country. And now the NFL referees are as good as it gets. They are really good at their gig. I'm telling you, they are so good. You know what you can do? You can have consolidated training. You can have all sorts of emphasis put on this thing. You can say what the CFP really wants to accomplish. Hey, let's not let them, let's not get so nitpicky with the defensive holding. Or maybe you go the NFL route. You can't even look at a guy after 5 yards right off the ball, right? So however they want to do it, but all of it has to be run by one entity.
Right.
Here's why leagues should like this too. It's an expense that they wouldn't have to take on fully. Maybe they have to put in to the pot, right? But Rick Neuheisel brought it up. Officiating is there's enough money in the CFP to take care of all this, okay? And it's going to be flowing even more freely. The College Football Playoff Committee shouldn't just be the College Football Playoff Committee. It needs to be the College Football Board. And that board runs everything at the top. And I like that they switch it up and they put a bunch of people on it all the time, and they switch it up and they put different, provosts and school officials and athletic directors and all these people that represent the different highest levels of competition in sports, and they get a lot of smart brains sitting in one room together, and they kind of all get together and put their heads in about it. Have a CFP commissioner, have a CFP athletic director, right? And then have the conferences weigh in with their representative that's a part of that conversation. Rick Neuheisel is 1,000% right. The look of it is at least bad. I don't think that the BYU, he said, you go back and look at that call, which you had to want to make that call. And that made it sound like, they're getting a call from upstairs. I just think it was not a very good officiating crew. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it this last week in a lot of different levels where you're like, what's going on with these guys? And whether or not it's Big 12 or not, the field storming thing, the Chase Roberts final catch, the just how things were handled at the end with everything, it was not done well. And in retrospect, then you go, boy, a lot of weird things could have happened. A lot of bad things could have happened. Some stuff that you wouldn't be able to control. And I don't know what the fine is going to be for ASU for storming the field. Have you heard anything?
I don't think the Big 12 does that. I think it's an SEC thing.
Dumb. I mean,
I don't think they'll get fined for that. Who's going to? No. The
Brett
Big 12's
Yormark.
not going to do that.
Brett Yormark. Send me $100,000 and your finest. What are they doing in Arizona that's good?
Daddy needs new shoes.
Hold on. What is Arizona known for?
I don't know.
From a food perspective. Everyone looked at each other and went, oh, the culinary beauty that is Arizona.
I mean,
what do they do down there? They got the QT? It's like a poor man's Maverick.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right, me neither. All right, so maybe we don't need you, Arizona. Come on.
We just need your pro teams. Bring those to us.
Oh, you know what it is?
Give those to us. We want the Diamondbacks. If you don't want the Cardinals, we'll take them.
Hold on. I've got a. I think
keep the Suns.
I've got you. I think you should leave reference for the day.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Howie, you're getting grumpy. Why don't you grab some of your Arizona walnuts? That's great. You have a nutcracker around here? I think maybe not Christmas stuff. Oh, well, that'll only take you a minute to go get. Okay. Arizona walnuts. Famous.
I want them all.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. When we return now, we've got one of our favorite weekend recaps. Sucks to be you. The current people who currently it sucks to be. The people who it currently sucks to be. And is it you? We'll talk about it next. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Basking in the sports misfortune of others to help make you feel just a little bit better about yourself. As JJ and Alex present,
Yes, we got beat. We got beat badly.
It Sucks to Be You.
Wow.
How old are we? Sucks to be us, Alex.
It's not spelt Knight like N-I-G-H-T, by the way. Because his name is Michael Knight. K-N-I-G-H-T. Knight Rider.
Neat.
Knight Rider. Yeah, you learn something new every day.
Alex did.
I know.
In the booth.
What's up with Gen Z? They don't even know about poorly produced 80s television. It's you guys' problem.
Poorly produced. That show was awesome.
I mean,
the car could talk.
On my way, Michael.
The car had a voice.
Oh, yeah, it did.
AI in the 80s, man.
What was that, a Trans Am?
His Trans Am had an AI.
Those black rims were... Okay, I got one for you. The A-Team's B.A. Baracus van, which is pretty dope.
Oh.
Or the Knight Rider car.
Oh, it's the Knight Rider car. Pontiac Firebird Trans Am that can talk?
Yeah, but creepy van with the cool red paint job on the back. It had a spoiler, too.
Here's
Spoiler on a van.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
That is cool. It's a tough one. I'm not saying it's that big of a slam dunk. It's a 1982 modified Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Do you know what KIT stands for?
Ooh, I don't know.
Knight Industries 2000.
Okay.
And
I
yes,
know it was Knight something.
it was a mechanical sidekick with artificial intelligence that could speak and perform many functions.
Remember
AI in the 80s.
Hasselhoff.
How genius is that?
Hasselhoff would talk to his Apple Watch. He didn't even know that he had an Apple Watch. But he was always out of breath, and his chest hair is bursting out of that shirt, and he's like, "Kid, they're getting away." "I'm on my way, Michael."
It had electronic signal jamming.
What did we watch? That was pretty awesome.
Had a laser cannon.
I had a Knight Rider.
It also had a printer, by the way.
I had a Knight Rider.
printed.
I know. I had a Knight Rider metal lunchbox.
Every kid did.
It was
in
dope.
In the mid 80s.
It was dope, man. I'm telling you.
That
All
car
right.
had missiles. So cool. So yeah, I'm going with the Knight Rider. I'm going with the Trans Am. Sorry.
All right. Current people who it sucks to be, or who it's sucked to be this weekend. All right, I'm going to go through the list quickly before we get to Tom from the warehouse. Sucks to be you, Coach Prime in Colorado. I thought we had. Did we have the? Do we have a Coach Prime audio? Him. This is what Coach Prime said after their loss to Kansas, and frankly, their loss to just. I think they were only playing Devin Neal on Saturday, and he beat him.
Wonderful coach who is one of my favorites in the Big 12. I feel as though we have a tremendous relationship. He checked on me when nobody was. We exchanged pleasantries before the game, and I told him that his team is resilient. They're a reflection of who he is. They fight to the end. They're very physical. They're tough. They're tenacious. They ran the heck out of the football, which we couldn't stop, period, today. We started smelling ourselves a little bit. That's what I just told our team. We got intoxicated with the success. We got intoxicated with the multitude of articles and the assumption that we're this and the assumption that we're that, and we did not play CU football.
I love that team we played today. Their coach, he's a good guy.
Coach Leopold.
He did not know who.
He had no idea what his name was.
He had no idea who Coach Lance Leipold was.
Now Colorado does not control their own destiny. For the Big 12 championship.
BYU beats Houston. It's over for them.
Isn't that crazy?
That's it. Yeah, and that makes it to where if you're a Big 12 person, if you're rooting for the conference, if you're one of those people, the best matchup you can get now is Arizona State and Iowa State. Let's be real, okay? The Philadelphia 76ers, they currently suck, JJ.
Surprisingly suck.
Maybe the suckiest of all suckiness.
They're trying to get in the Jazz way of Cooper Flagg, and I don't appreciate it.
Could you imagine?
They've got, 3 All-Stars, and they suck.
Oh, jeez. Alabama, sucks to be you, Coach Kalen DeBoer.
What happened?
Lose by 3 scores to Oklahoma, who was maybe the worst team in the SEC compared to what people's thoughts were going to be on that. Sucks to be the Washington Commanders kicker who,
Austin
what an
Seibert.
amazing comeback. Oh, you missed the extra point. Is he going to have a job this week?
He's still employed.
All right.
They didn't waive him today.
And then sucks to be Kurt Signetti in Indiana who found out.
Oh, Google it.
That they really do.
Just Google it.
That they really do. They're not that good. By the way, Signetti, and when you saw him on the sidelines, does he just look like he looks like your dad after you come home late from curfew all the time? Like he's sitting in that couch. There's never a time where he looks happy. Even when he's making his little snide remarks, he looks like a grumpy dude.
That's a good description.
All right. So there you go. Those are the people who it sucks to be this weekend. We will take a break and we'll come back next hour. By the way, we're going to be giving out our Chevy Strong Player of the Weekend. As you heard it on DJ and PK, we'll do that coming up in a little while.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Feel like a kid again.
Yeah, man. Glenn A. Larson and Stu Phillips, you did a great job.
They don't get enough credit.
You did this song.
You did this. This is your life work. Be proud.
Do they say? Is this one of those same songs where they like say something over it too? Because A-Team, remember they're like,
No, there is. Yeah.
In 1968, a group of mercenaries. Yes. Which, by the way, authorities, including the military, can't find these guys, but random people who have just like these low-level issues going on can find them.
Yeah.
If you're in the L.A. area, maybe you can find them. Because we still can't. They're like on every wanted poster ever. Do you find it weird that the A-team, a big part of the storyline was they had to drug up Mr. T to put him on a plane?
That is a little weird.
Like, Hannibal used to actually like hit him in the neck with with like an Ozempic needle.
Ozempic.
And he's like, "You're getting on that plane, BA."
Mr. T weighs 155 pounds now. Has no appetite whatsoever. Can't figure out why.
That song hits, though. I love that. All right.
So 80s.
And that's how Germany fell in love with the Hoff. That's how we all did, really. All right. It's that time of the show for us to jump into to the cut here at the top of the hour. By the way, it's brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs that quick, tasty, nutritious boost. You can find them at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, all in the refrigerated section. Let's kick off the hour. Let's get to some sound here from our local coaches on their weekly press conferences. We'll jump in right here with the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, the cut brought to you by Trajan Wealth, your local financial fiduciaries, 801-899-7600, or their website, trajanwealth.com, Trajan Wealth. All right. Quite the weekend for both Kalani Sitake and Kyle Whittingham. Let's fire things up first with Kalani and some of his comments from today's press conference. And first of all, with the insane emotion that went along with that game, in the direct post-game comments from Kalani, we were doing, of course, our post-game here at the station right after, I was blown away how even-keeled he was. Like, how he made it a total non-issue with the fans being on the field. And, you know, he brought up, yeah, we'll have the conference look at some things. Here's what he said about all the weird stuff that went on that wasn't even necessarily about the football game itself. It was just kind of the periphery that turned into one crazy, wild weekend in Tempe. Here's what Kalani said about it.
Yeah, Big 12 is looking into it. They're reviewing everything that happened in the game, from, on the field when the game happened to the penalties, to all these different things, to the incompletion or completion with Chase Roberts, all those things. They're handling all that, even the recording. They're looking into all of that stuff, and they'll deal with it. I think I trust the Big 12 leadership and just let them handle that. I'm more focused on what can we do this week and what can we do today and make sure that we perform a lot better.
Okay. I think it's interesting. The Big 12 is going to look at all of it. Yeah, they have to review and grade their officials anyway. Fine. But they're going to want to obviously see what the heck is going on with the end of the game, right? When you talk about the fans coming onto the field, the non-call on the grounding, the non-unsportsmanlike penalty was called, whether or not, he brought it up, but whether or not Chase even made that catch at the end, because I think that the officials were just like, well, it's not like they're going to go back and review it. If it were on the line, they saw the ball come out at the end, and it was obviously after Chase Roberts had made the catch. If you go back and look at but who cares?
Chase cares. His
I guess you look at a couple other yards. Look at a few extra yards for both he and Jake Retzlaff in a loss. That ended up being a loss. It wasn't like he got in the end zone, so I get it. People want to know what was going on, but here's what he said about the mindset of his team now. I'm going to be fascinated to chat with Connor Pay this week about this same thing, about like, okay, now what? Now how do you get over these last two losses after you started the game off, or the season off with 9 wins? Here's what Kalani said.
Yeah, just control this game. We can control what we got to do here and not focus on anything else but what we have. We get to finish it at home, find a way to get one for the seniors, and also find a way to get double-digit wins. A lot of really cool things to play for. These guys are, even the fans, everyone's going to get used to being in the conference now. This is only our second year since we've had independence for so long. There's still a lot of all-conference accolades, things like that they can still earn, and it's a really cool vibe in this partnership in the Big 12. It'll be a lot of fun.
I think he's keeping his headspace in the right spot, right?
Yes.
I don't think they're overly well. One, look, this is what your life coach tells you on that Zoom call every week.
You have a life coach?
I do not, but I just assume this is what life coach people do. You can't be affected by the things you can't control. Let it go, Jeremiah. That's what I assume life coaches do.
Control the controllables.
You can't control that. All you can figure out is what you're going to do.
He's right.
By the way, whether or not you're worried about other teams losing and winning for you to be able to get in the Big 12 championship game, how about you solve some of the issues you've had on offense? One half of football, which was absolutely their best half of football that they've played in the last 4 weeks, was that second half. But does that mean you've got it all figured out? Here's what he said about the things that they did to change what the offense was doing.
There's a lot of different variables that go into it. I think we've got to establish what we want to get done in our games and how we want to approach our strategy and lean on the strengths that we have as an offense. I like what we did in the second half and just want to see our team put points on the board and give us a chance. And I think what we did second half is more like what we should do.
Okay.
So they're going to have that. This is going to stick with these guys forever. I'm not even going to ask Connor this because I know the answer. I'm not going to do it. But if you played football, you remember the losses more than the wins. You don't remember a lot of details about wins, but you remember the pain of losses.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to live with that for the rest of their life, that they didn't play well in the second half in that game that would have put them in the conference championship game. If things don't go their way on Saturday, they're gonna kick themselves for not being ready to go in that first half. And I think the conversation we can have is like, what happened in that first half? It's like Arizona State absolutely dominated them in all three phases, and I can't figure out why. I have no idea why. Am I really supposed to believe that Arizona State's that much better than BYU in the trenches? I find that hard to believe, but my eyes told me yes on Saturday. Until the second half when things seemed like they evened out a little bit. But that was the biggest game we talked about. I went on Hans's show, Hans and Scotty, on Friday before the game. And me and Hans talked about it. And I asked him, is it hyperbole to say that this is the most important game in the Kalani Sitake era? And he said no. I think we were all in agreement that with what was on the line and what was at stake, that was the biggest game for BYU in a long, long time. And that first half was really upsetting.
Yeah. Yep. 1,000%. So, obviously, the Big 12 championship game is talked about a lot, and whether or not they could get there. Here's what he said about that.
I think everybody knows a lot of the different scenarios. All I care about is focusing on the seniors and trying to find a way to control the stuff that we can control, which is how we play this weekend and how we prepare today. And then we'll just see what happens afterwards. But the goal is to try to go 1-0 this week. That's got to be our primary goal. And then we deal with, the results of how that affects everything else from there on.
Hey, he talked to his life coach today.
Yeah, he did.
Just got to focus on things we can control, It's 1,000% right. Who cares? I mean, if you don't, by the way, you come out flat against Houston and you're on senior night at home.
Houston has nothing to play for.
Zero, but they've also been much improved in the last 7 games of the season.
True.
So can't fall asleep at the wheel.
Almost got bowl eligible.
Yeah, can't fall asleep at the wheel. I mean, it's not just not fall asleep at the wheel. You've got to sharpen your sword a little bit more to the point that, like, if you're going to play in the Big 12 championship game, you got to be a different team showing up than you've been the last couple of weeks. Frankly, the last 3 weeks.
If you think you're the best team in the Big 12 and you think you're college football playoff worthy, you should absolutely boat race Houston at home at 8:15 at night in a game that doesn't mean anything to Houston.
Ooh,
you should absolutely boat race them. You should crush them.
Let's see what the weather forecast looks like for this
When's
weekend.
the last time BYU crushed somebody? Was there a game this year that counts?
I think that the UCF game was kind of there, and they sort of.
But the fourth quarter.
I know, but they
didn't play 4 quarters in that game.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what started their offensive swoon.
The Kansas State game on paper,
right? But if we're honest about that, we know why that score was the way it was. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they dominated that game offensively. It's not like they just were this absolute offensive juggernaut that just came out and just throwing the ball over the place. The first 3 quarters against UCF, that was what they looked like. I'm just waiting for them to really show that they're elite.
Ooh, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Saturday. Sunny, a high of 41. Kickoff looks like it'll be 28 degrees, though. Ooh. And then end of game, 25.
That's chilly.
That's going to be cold. Houston.
Arizona was a game where I felt like they really – but that Arizona stinks.
Yep. Oh, yeah, Arizona, they did.
BYU should beat Houston this weekend 42-7. They should absolutely.
Is that your early prediction? Is that your early score prediction?
I'm throwing it out there already.
All right.
BYU 42, Houston, I'll go 10.
Wow. We got hey, you're supposed to say that for the end of the week, JJ.
Well.
We got a show to do on Friday. Well, never mind. Hey, Alex, just call up Doug Smith, Mitsubishi down on Friday. Someone can't be there.
Hey,
JJ already got.
Did you get the phone? Every time, Alex, by the way, if you call them, you have to say, hey, Doug.
Jeremiah already threw out a score prediction on a Monday.
I couldn't wait.
Don't like it.
I couldn't wait. We did the segment. We're talking Cougars. I couldn't wait.
All right. Kyle Whittingham. Let's get to some of his sound. Very first off the bat, talked about the special teams performance versus Iowa State. Here's what he said about it.
A lot of positive things in that game. Exceptionally pleased with the way the special teams played. It was the best special teams performance of the season. Made some impact plays, recovering the muffed punt, return from the opponent, set the offense up on the 17-yard line, I believe it was, and we blocked a punt for a touchdown. And so some real impact plays that occurred special teams-wise was good to see because we had not done much of that this year.
It was good. You missed a 54-yard field goal at the end, and it was a close one for Cole Becker.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, all the stuff that led up to even having to kick that one, it should have been a 41-yarder, really.
Even when you have the positivity of the special teams and the Lander Barton pick six, which keeps the streak alive, you all know about the streak, if you get that punt block and a touchdown and you return a pick six, you should win that game if you're Utah every dang time. Every dang time. And you didn't because your offense is so poo-poo.
I didn't want to have to laugh at that, but I was not expecting to get a "they so poo-poo" dropped in the first segment of the hour. I like it. Kyle Whittingham also talked about, I don't know if you know this is the second week in a row, he was asked about his future and what was going to be happening with him as the head coach of the Utes going forward.
We'll, obviously evaluate after the season's over, see what the situation is. But my decision will be made on what's best for the program, not what's best for me. So it'll be completely determined on how I feel this program is best served going forward. So yeah, that's where that is.
2 weeks in a row, they're asking him to make the same. What about now? Well, what about now?
Are we gonna ask this question after they lose on Saturday?
Dang
on
right.
Friday?
Dang right. But what about now? I already told you, but I'll say it again. Fine. All right, and then here's what he said about Isaac Wilson and the injury situation and how they're going to deal with that.
Isaac hurt when he was taken to the ground, or was he hurt on the ground when he was?
I think it was the rollover. Yeah, I think
there was no penalty. It was already down on the ground. And
you're talking to the wrong guy about referees and penalties and what's going on there. I just don't. I don't even want to get into it, but no, the initial tackle was not what caused. It was the finish of the tackle, or however you want to term it. And yeah, that's what it was.
There you go. It was. I think we know what he meant.
I would like to see players who you see obviously trying to hurt another player.
I'm not a big Shedeur Sanders guy, but that was some BS when that dude went at his shins and knees.
That was nasty, right? So,
and the fact there was not a penalty flag thrown, like, so freaking weird.
We've so focused on ejecting guys for targeting. Like, you can't do something about this where a guy is clearly trying to hurt or injure a player.
Right.
You're twisting his knee like that.
Oh, you launch at his head and neck area?
You're
out.
He should not play another game until that other player's back from the injury.
You launched. Oh, that's an interesting philosophy. I like it. You launched at his kneecaps? Fair game. No problem. And then finally, Luke Batari, the Ferrari. Get him out of the garage. Let's get him going.
Vroom, vroom.
Yeah, let's go.
Luke Batari, thought he came in and really provided a spark. Luke, just like last year when he was called upon in the Colorado game, I believe was last game of the season, will be the starter this week. For a guy that started the season as the fifth string guy and really didn't have a whole lot of chance to play, just continued to keep himself ready every single week in case. Last week was the week that he got his opportunity and really did some good things. Came in and provided the spark for us, and so that was good to see Luke do that. And again, he'll get the opportunity this week to be the starter.
All right. There you go. Kyle Whittingham and Coach Kalani Sitake, both of their comments from their Monday press conferences rolled into one beautiful segment. All right. Hey, by the way, the Chevy Strong Play of the Weekend is given out every Monday. If you listen to DJ and PK in the morning, they give out a play of the weekend, and then you can tell us what that play was. And if you call us right now, call in number 12, gets an Amazon gift card for your troubles. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-9663. With an impressive lineup of cars, trucks, and SUVs, it's no wonder people are switching to Chevy. And your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer play of the weekend. Yeah, so just dial it up. If you heard DJ and PK, tell us what the play was. 801-575-ZONE.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Oh, man, there was NFL this weekend? I thought it was just a field storming in Tempe that happened.
Stop it.
My goodness. What a week in the NFL.
was surprisingly good.
It was way good. And I don't like to watch the Cowboys play, typically, unless it's, I told you about my obsession with Schadenfreude. I love watching the Dallas Cowboys suffer. And to see Mike McCarthy, I think when they went up, what did they go up? It was something, with
20-9, right?
Well, and I think with the last couple minutes left in the game, it was still.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
What were they? They were down 34 to.
The Commanders? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, the Cowboys found themselves up. It was like 34 to 20.
Lead, so they were up. They ended up winning 34 to 26.
So sorry, no. They were up 20
to 9.
To 9.
With 5:16 left. There was a 22-yard pass. Cooper Rush to Luke Schoonmaker.
Yes. And that was
a 20 to 9 lead.
And you're like, all right. And McCarthy's over there. Everyone's hugging him because they know his job's on the line. And the reality is that after the Cowboys got the weirdest, this was very Parker Kingston-esque, right? The bobbled kickoff that goes almost into the end zone. You backtrack, and then you end up outrunning everybody, and you get a return for a touchdown. And then you're like, wow, they're really going to pull it off. And then they still almost gave the thing away. It was almost worse for McCarthy that they just kept being up by 2 scores with no time left and still were giving the game up.
It's one of the wackiest endings I've seen to an NFL game in a while.
So they get the touchdown, and you're like, oh my goodness, 27 to 27. Can you believe it? And then the missed extra point. Go for the onside kick. The onside kick gets returned.
Austin Seibert made a 51-yard field goal with 1:40 left to cut the lead to 7. And then just a minute later, he missed an extra point.
Terrible.
That would have tied the game and sent the game to overtime.
I feel so bad for these kickers, man.
It's a tough life. You sign up for it. It's Heartbreak City, man.
Rough. Oh, my goodness.
That was a wild game.
It was crazy. By the way, our NFL Blitz is brought to you by our Win Ticket Wednesdays. Every week right here on the KSL Sports Zone, you can win a family pack of 5 tickets this week to the Utah Jazz and the LA Lakers at Delta Center on December 1st. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. There you go. All right, speaking of other games across the NFL, Jaylen Warren, local product, of course. Love to be able to throw that in there, right? 11 carries, 45 yards and a touchdown, added 3 receptions, 19 yards through the air for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jordan Love, of course. Boy, that team, that Green Bay team, how about sticking it to the worst loss for the San Francisco 49ers since 2018?
Wow.
The worst loss for that team since 2018.
49ers are going to miss the playoffs.
Oh, they threw all that money at the team this year, too, to try to put it all into the middle. And guess what? It ain't going to get better next year. You're going to have to pay Purdy. You're going to have to figure out the lopsided salary cap situation that you have, and you're not going to be any better for it. Speaking of locals in the NFL, since we love to focus on these Mondays, how about your guy, Devon Bagley? Man, the Broncos are good. I hate admitting it, but
it's uncomfortable. I don't know how to react.
What do I do with my football hands?
I'm so used to being so sour about my favorite NFL team, but now I have hope. It's uncomfortable.
How about Bo Nix, man? Like, I didn't love that guy in college.
Offensive
he played
Rookie of the Year
for 100 years. But, man, he's doing well.
Yep.
And then last night, to cap things off, even in a loss, Puka Nakua was sensational. And they have guys all over him. They know exactly what the plan is. You got Cooper Kupp, you got Puka Nakua, and then if they're covering those guys up, they'll throw to two or three other guys. And even when Puka Nakua was covered, he's just catching balls, man. Wild.
He's tough to guard.
But they fall to the Eagles, who are maybe the hottest team in the league right now. Them and the
Second
Lions.
hottest. Yeah, they've won 7 straight.
They are 9-2 on the season. Saquon Barkley is decidedly an all-pro guy right now.
7 in a row. Only the Lions have won more, 9 in a row. So
wow,
those two are looking like the teams to beat in the NFC.
Hey, and then the Chiefs. Rusty Keys was walking through the hallways going, I bet we'll look
Rusty.
gross versus the Carolina Panthers. Now, the first half it did. It was like 20-6, I think, at the half. But then they, of course, can only win games on last-minute game-winning field goals. What is the freaking deal with the Chiefs, man?
Pretty crazy.
Keep doing it, though. They keep winning.
So they have won 5 games on the final second, and 8 of their wins have come by 1-score margins.
And then it's without Butker right now, right, too?
Yeah, he's out. He did not kick the game winner.
Right, it's the other guy.
Mahomes now has 21 game-winning drives in his career.
Boy.
21.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he feels like he's still been in the league for like 5 minutes. Like Matthew Stafford, I think, has the most of active players right now. No. Besides Aaron Rodgers. But those guys are like, they've been playing forever.
Right.
And I think that Mahomes split the two of them this week.
Wow.
So Stafford's like 20. It's like 21 for Mahomes, and it's like, 31 or whatever it is for Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to have any of them. He's not going to have any of them anytime soon, though. So there you go. I didn't put this best story in. Wait, did I? You did? I congratulate our producer, Alex. Now, the F1 race was in Vegas this weekend. I went to last year's F1 race in Vegas. Did not go this year. Too many other things going on. But F1 has just agreed, and Americans who aren't into F1, you should start getting into it because F1 and GM, specifically a Cadillac racing team, will be on the grid in 2 years. They'll be racing with a Cadillac insignia on an F1 car in 2026. That's pretty cool. You know who they're partnering with too? Andretti. So it's going to be Andretti Cadillac.
Okay.
That's going to be. I'm just telling you guys, that's cool. We have an American team right now, kind of, not really. Doesn't really feel like it. This is like
Shows
the first
the growth of the sport,
right? Yeah, an American manufacturer, like big, auto producer getting into F1 here in the U.S. That's pretty cool. All right. And then the worst, of course, was Dallin Levitt feeling himself after the game. Oh, sorry. Did I just get a segment ahead of you?
Oh, you did.
Oh, boy.
We'll
Sorry
do it again.
about that. I'll get into more.
Do it again.
I just have so many dang worsts. I'll come back. Can we play the Dallin Levitt? I'm just kidding. We can't play that Dallin Levitt.
Alex doesn't have enough time on his hands to edit that thing.
Also, you know what? He likes being employed. We all do.
Yep.
Might be nice. Might be nice to keep the job at the end of the day here.
Dallin Levitt would like you to do something to something.
What's that even mean?
Should not do that. Tell him no. Tell him no.
Sorry. I'm just going through all of it. Yeah, we still have more. I've got more best and worst, so stick around. More to go right around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. My goodness. I got ahead of myself, and I apologize. I was looking at the clock, and I thought I saw something totally different. So we'll get you your best and worst right here. We'll do it quickly. I told you about the F1 agreement that is going to bring Cadillac to F1. That's great. That's not necessarily the best, though. For most people who aren't sports fans, that's not necessarily the best.
So what is the best?
You tell me.
Serious?
Because I was looking for this weekend, and I didn't want to.
How about Harbaugh versus Harbaugh here in a few minutes?
I love it. I think it's an awesome
Should we
one.
care about – is there a problem if the thing we're hyping about a game is the coach matchup? Is that bad?
Well,
it's actually a good game. The Chargers and Ravens are both going to be in the playoffs.
It's kind of wild because, for Jim Harbaugh to walk in and have this type of success with a team that didn't have a lot of superstars on it. Like, I mean, Justin Herbert is great, but he had nobody to throw to, and they've been figuring it out, man.
Yeah, but let's admit it. Like, the problem in the last 2 or 3 years was not Herbert or anybody else. It was the coach.
Yep, that's true. All right, let's head out one more time here to Tom Curl from the warehouse. Tom, what do you have for us when it comes to deals? It's our last one. Let's roll through it here, buddy. All right, we'll take a break. For JJ, I'm Alex, our producer, Alex Napolis. We will be back again tomorrow for a shortened edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.